Pro wrestling podcasters, acknowledge me. Welcome back to the third episode of The Cutting Room here in season 2, here with your mass creative host, Damien King. Hope you guys had a good week. There's been a lot of news droppings in the pro wrestling world and the film world as well. Like to bring back our pickup shot segment, which is where I kind of like fast, rapid topics about pro wrestling and films. So let's get right into that. There's been a lot of stuff going on in pro wrestling, guys. Hope you guys had a good week. Hope you guys enjoy the pay per views that we've been getting. We got a Bad Blood that WWE put on, great pay per view, and then we just came off of Wrestle Dream with AEW. How do you guys feel about that this week? How do you guys feel the retirement of Bryan Danielson? How do you guys like the ending of that match? Is it what you expected? I know I didn't get a chance to watch that pay per view. I did get to watch Bad Blood. I would put that up there with top pay per views of the year, not of all time, but of the year. But some topics that we got to talk about: Hiroshi Tanahashi announces his retirement at New Japan's King of Pro Wrestling. So I guess he'll be retiring at next Wrestle Kingdom, that's usually in January. How do you guys feel about the Ace announcing his retirement? Also, we got the Young Bucks coming back to New Japan Pro Wrestling. That was just announced last night at the recording of this episode, which is Monday. So how do you guys feel about the Young Bucks coming back? I know they have a lot of unfinished business with Kenny Omega after they attacked him when when Okada debuted for AEW Dynamite. How do you guys feel about that? Let's see. Oh yeah, Zack Sabre Jr. dethrones Naito to become the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. That's been long coming. Zack Sabre Jr. has paid his dues. He's for sure adapted to that style of the Japanese style, coming from his British background. But how do you guys feel about that? I know I'm pretty happy for him. That's a pretty good thing to come off of. Let's see. Who else would be? Let's see. I know The Rock kind of put to rest those rumors that he won't be at WrestleMania 41. Um, I guess somebody posted online asking him, and he's like, "Don't believe that bullshit you hear." So we still might get The Rock at WrestleMania 41 in Vegas. Another thing is MJF and Adam Cole has come back to AEW. They came back at Wrestle Dream. Personally, at this point, I don't see what the point of that rivalry could be. Simply for the fact that when MJF came back, which was at Double or Nothing, when he came back as the Wolf of Pro Wrestling, and he chased off Adam Cole, made Adam Cole look like a made him look like a bitch. He ran off. So now for them to come back the same night and now MJF to be the one to run off, scared, I don't get it. I don't understand. So help me. This is why I'm not agreeing with this. Help me get it. What both of them, due to their injuries, kind of messed up the rivalry. I think they should have just ended that rivalry and not bring it back. But what do you guys think on that? So those are my pickup shots for this episode. Comment below, subscribe, like, let me know what you guys want to talk about. What do you guys think about these topics? Do we agree? Do we disagree? How do you help me convince me how you feel like your opinion or your view is valid? I love to get into disputes, not disputes. I like to get into uh, friendly banter when it comes to pro wrestling topics and especially films as well. So this episode, the way I opened up my episode was quoting Roman Reigns, and I think that's gonna be a huge topic that we're gonna talk about in today's episode, which is WWE is cinematic. WWE is now cinematic. And when I say that, people ask, "Well, what do you mean by cinematic?" So in pro wrestling, uh, it's very storyline based. Obviously, there's writers. Sometimes some people think that pro wrestling is just kind of on the fly. That it's all fake. When storylines blur can blur the line of reality and fiction, that's when they have us. That's when we're invested. WWE has put out certain storylines in the past that has gotten us, has made us believe in what we're seeing. And one of the biggest examples that ushered in this new era, because there's talks of WWE being in this new era that has been coined the Renaissance era, and I don't believe I. It has a nice ring to it, and I get why. Um, but to me, I think this new era is called the cinematic era, and I'm gonna make a point across something I'm very excited about. It's something I've told people in my inner circle many times. Something I've done on this show as well is comparing pro wrestlers or pro wrestling storylines to famous movies, because they're one and the same. And there's times where one takes inspiration from the other. Um, One of the videos that I did prior is obviously the most known one, is when I compared Cody Rhodes to Simba and his story being the Lion King. Another one that I did was with Bryan Danielson when he won his world title. I compared that one to him being Rudy Rudiger from the movie Rudy. Now this one might bring some eye rolls, and some people might call me crazy. I know some people have been very vocal about, some of your takes are very out there. But it's my take. It's my opinion. Everyone has a different view. So if you agree with it, cool. If you don't, you don't. But this is the cutting room, and I control the helm on this. So one of the biggest storylines that has come out since Triple H, Paul Levesque, has taken over has been the Bloodline storyline. And to do this video, I went back a couple days ago. I went back and rewatched the whole storyline, the highlight that WWE has had on YouTube, the whole 3 hour long, however long it took. It took a while for me to get through that, but worth the watch for sure. I saw a lot of things I hadn't seen in a while, and then some things that I never noticed in the first time. But the Bloodline storyline has to be the most compelling thing that WWE has put out uh, in many years, and maybe of all time. Now, if you're not a fan of the Bloodline storyline, I completely understand. It isn't for everybody. Everyone likes their own different type of flavor of ice cream, like MJF says. This is the beauty of pro wrestling. This is the beauty of this era that we're in now. Is that let me crack open a beer real quick. So one of one of the best things that I've seen in this new era of wrestling is that it's not conventional, and what we're doing nowadays has evolved, or that the WWE and AEW has been doing is has evolved storyline and storybook telling. Um, Before it was very simple. We present a rivalry, we do run-ins leading up to a pay-per-view, and we do the match at the pay-per-view. Which is standard. That was a standard for many years. But then I'm trying to see where this shift started. Where did this cinematic inspiration start, and what was the catalyst to start this change? When I started going back on this episode and I wanted to do my homework, I didn't want to just come into this, just blatantly say this statement, compare these movies and this pro wrestling storyline without coming with facts. And one of the things that I would have to put down is that the pandemic really was the era that helped usher in the cinematic universe of pro wrestling in the WWE. And I think this episode we're going to focus on just WWE. I will talk about different storylines with AEW, because they have also done cinematic storylines, and if you guys want to keep hearing about those, I'll do a specific video for that. But this is specifically on the Bloodline storyline and what movie I'm comparing this to. So the pandemic era helped this cinematic thing usher in when the no crowds was the issue. You know, pro wrestling needs crowds. Pro wrestlers need the fans, because they vibe. They need the fans to make decisions. The fans cheering and the fans booing is what, I guess, in a way, gives a pro wrestler their their intuition. And if they get nothing back, there's been many times where pro wrestlers talk about certain venues that they have wrestled in, where, let's say it's an arena, the sound is very is enclosed, and the sound comes back to them, so they're able to feed off the reactions. But then when they do open stadiums, they get nothing back, and they're like, wait a minute, are we doing good in this match? And then they think they're not, but in fact they are. You just can't hear the reactions back in the ring, because the sound goes up into the sky and out of the stadium. So imagine that the pandemic starts. We are not allowed to attend pro wrestling shows. AEW did their best with what they were the cards that they were dealt with. They did certain good things, but I think they kind of on focused still on the same formula of doing good acrobatic matches. Um, and it, I think they took a huge damage to that, especially in that era because there was no crowds. Um, so they kind of sizzled, especially at the start. It was right at the start when the company first started. Um, but WWE uh used the no fans, and uh they they said, well, how can we benefit from this? What can we do different? The first person I noticed in this era that started doing this was Roman when he came back, where he started talking directly to the cameras. And that's something that Vince prior didn't like. That was such a WCW thing to do, where the wrestlers would talk in the camera during their entrances. And in WWE and WWF at the time, we would not see that. It was very orchestrated. Every entrance, every match, there was never grabbing the cameras and talking to it. I feel like that was such a thing that was done so much in the past that WWE never allowed. But then when Roman came back and started doing this, this felt new. When Roman returned and attacked the Fiend, and had, he became the wreck everyone and repeat, guy. So that was for sure a catalyst. The pandemic helping usher in a cinematic era where now we're breaking the rules. We're doing things different. Now there's no sound in the arena. All you hear is slams and the ropes and the boots, and now we could actually hear their conversations during their match. Now there's insults being done. That's something that Roman did. Um, so that starts the Bloodline storyline. Roman's return, him linking up with Paul Heyman. Now we're getting a different Roman. Now we're getting the heel Roman that we've always wanted. Prior to this, we were getting a very cookie cutter Roman. We're getting the big dog, something that none of us really believed in because it wasn't him being him. Roman was being manufactured by the WWE and at the time Vince McMahon, and the ideas that he thought were good, and it wasn't working, and we rebelled as fans. But then we get Roman come back, and we get him team up with Paul Heyman, which is very different. Now Roman has, and then we get less talking from Roman. There's always been that thing. Maybe sometimes less is more. And if you disagree, some people like wrestlers that go above and beyond, and it works for some people. People like Ricochet, um, Will Ospreay, all these guys do acrobatic. The Lucha Brothers, those types of matches. There's a time and a place. But then there's times where we need a wrestler to do less, and then that gives us more. And Roman in this era began to ooze aura. He became different. This wasn't the big dog anymore. This wasn't you know, the this is my yard. This was a whole different Roman that we're seeing. Um, and I started to realize that, this kind of seems a little familiar. Um, a, an established person now linking up with somebody more established with knowledge in something that they are not familiar with, and what I'm talking about. And I hope when I say these things, I hope it gets reactions, but at the same time, I hope take time to listen to my take before you hit stop or you hit the comic section and you start attacking. But let's go down the facts real quick. That's when the Bloodline storyline became straight out of Compton. the movie. Now, when I say that, we see, okay, okay, we're like, wait, how? Where? In what way is this the same thing? Well, let's compare it. Roman Reigns is Eazy-E. Roman Reigns had a background and was an established person in the streets and in the world of pro wrestling, and he links up with Paul Heyman, who is our Jerry Heller, a person on the side, a manager that is familiar with a lot of years of experience, something that Roman wasn't. Same as Eazy-E. They had the talent, they just didn't have the knowledge. You know, and they obviously get a team together of people they've known for many years. That being the Usos. And that whole storyline being brought in, the Usos. For sure, I would put Jey Uso is Ice Cube for sure. He used charisma, even the things that Roman couldn't do in the ring, Jay could. And um then we get Jimmy Uso, which is very much Dr. Dre. Uh where Dr. Dre stood a little longer, where Jay was the first one to be like, we got to leave, this isn't right. Um that kind of started termination in the family or in the group. Uh you know there's many moments in this bloodline storyline where it felt um very cinematic, especially during that whole time where Roman tells Jay, you broke my heart. That's such a godfather thing to do. um but back to the storyline, obviously linking up with Paul Heyman with Jerry Heller, it brought the group much success. uh it brought the group so much success that I think the success got got to Roman's head just like it did to Eazy-E, and started mistreating the other members of the family, which being Jay and Jimmy. And that kind of same thing happened with Eazy when he was not being completely fair with Ice Cube, Ren, Yeller, and Dre. Even though they brought so much to the table, it wasn't just Eazy and it wasn't just Roman. And obviously there's many moments where the Usos blamed the problems that they're having in the family. They blamed it on you know Jay and Jimmy were blaming Paul Heyman, same as Cube blaming Jerry Heller. Um, so I kind of that's and I'm when I say this, I'm talking about specifically the original era of the Bloodline storyline. I'm not talking about what's going on right now. That's a whole other chapter, and that's a whole other sequel. And what we're getting now in the Bloodline storyline is way beyond what anyone expected. Even though it was predicted that if Solo were to come in, he'd bring in the Gorillas of Destiny. But we'll get that into that in another video. Going back to the Bloodline storyline being straight out of Compton, um, now we're getting into the point of the storyline where we're seeing reconciliation, and that's what we saw in Straight Outta Compton. At some point, things got so ugly. We're beefing. We're sending diss tracks. We're attacking each other. The Usos are attacking. Um, they're Jimmy and Roman are attacking Jay. The way Ice Cube was attacked, but he had to, come back with no Vaseline, at it. And Jimmy has always oozed that aura and that charisma, same as Ice Cube. We knew Ice Cube was really the star and the star rapper in that group. The other guys were just manufactured. Same as Roman Reigns, he was manufactured by the WWE to say this is the next big thing, or the next big star. But us as fans, we recognize real. Now look at Jey Uso right now, current WWE Intercontinental Champion, and one of the most popular, selling guys with the merch. And talking about merch, another thing I could compare the Bloodline with Straight Outta Compton was when the NWA came out, their uniform was the Raiders jackets and the hats and the all black with the white sneakers, that whole style of NWA looked a certain way. Same as the Bloodline. The Bloodline merch was probably the top selling merch of WWE at the time. It still continues to this day. We the ones. That Bloodline storyline with them at the table, the head of the table T-shirts. I saw those everywhere. The and a moment where I saw this Bloodline storyline being so popular was probably when Roman debuted his new entrance music. The that whole moment. I remember being at the gym on a Friday night, and the Bloodline segment came on, and I noticed that I'm like, wait a minute, a gym is playing. It was one of those gyms that had multiple television sets. We have the movie on Friday night. They have the sports, but then one specific television had SmackDown on, and then I see Roman coming down. I noticed, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like the dan 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 dan. We get this holy holy aura. Something's coming down the aisle, and it's so good, and that music helped out Roman's presentation so well. But what I noticed that this storyline started getting popular was when I saw people or a group of guys stop what they were doing, stop their workout, and then they look up at the television, and when Roman's coming down, I see them lift up the finger, and I saw them acknowledge the tribal chief. And I'm like, you know what? If I wasn't a fan then, I have to take notice that this is hot. This is it, And I started doing my research, and I remember getting this notification when it happened, and I'm like, well, this is very different. WWE started focusing at that time on long-term storytelling, and that has credit to do to Triple H. Obviously, he has a good mind for the business. But one thing I have to also give credit to, and something people have to know, is that in 2022, that's when we started seeing the shift of long-term stories. It be obviously the Bloodline being one, the Judgment Day being another, the Alpha Academy storyline, but then we get WWE hire a former Marvel. We get a let's see. So then we get a new director of long-term creative in the name of Rob Fee. Back in 22, coming off the campaign of reintroducing Bray Wyatt to the universe, we we got WWE announced that Rob Fee will be now the director of character development. Now, Rob Fee, you ask who's that? Is the former Disney Television and Marvel Comics creator. That's what he was doing prior, and then I guess WWE felt confident in that he would be able to handle long-term storytelling. And I see a lot of superstars give a lot of good feedback, and they love working with him. And that obviously you could tell that had a huge thing to do, giving Rob Fee some credit on all these long-term stories that we're getting, and we get payoffs. And when I say long-term storytelling, for the people who are uninitiated, in pro wrestling, long-term storytelling means that the story, it's not going to last a pay-per-view or two, but we this is for the long run. And I always love that Roman Reigns line that he gave at WrestleMania, after WrestleMania 39, after beating Cody. And when we thought that Cody was going to win and he didn't, Roman says, this isn't built for the shorts. This isn't fast food. This isn't McDonald's. We're giving you the good stuff. We're cooking this. We're letting this marinate. And I love that line, and I love that moment. And this is just we're third inning barely. Like we've been talking about this years. We were thinking about 1,000 days, like 500 days ago. You have to also understand that this Bloodline storyline is so good, and it's really what's Straight Outta Compton was. It's very long-term storytelling, and a lot of these characters are very similar. Uh, and if you don't agree, you don't have to agree, but there's a lot of comparisons. And when I say both things are the same, doesn't necessarily mean that every person involved in every scene in that movie is mirrored. The basic storyline of a superstar or a person that's known links up with somebody more knowledgeable and is going to push them to higher levels, which is what Paul did with Roman, same as Jerry Heller did to Eazy-E, and they bring in a family, and then somehow the success and fame, gets to their head, same as with Easy did, and the members started disbanding, same as the Bloodline storyline. All these members start dropping. Um, but then we get some type of reconciliation. I think that's where we're at in this Bloodline storyline. We're getting the post Chronic era. Everyone got a little taste of success. But a bigger threat is coming in the form of Suge Knight, and we got Solo Sikoa here being Suge. Saying this. Where I'm from. He's flexing on these guys and bringing new thugs, and that's where we get the forms of Tamatanga and Tongaloa. You know, it's really the same. It really is. And if you don't agree, it's fine. If you agree, comment below, let me know. Um, but I really feel like these two stories, this film and this pro wrestling storyline, are very hand in hand, and it's so cool to see because I have now become more invested in this Bloodline storyline from what we're getting into, what we got at Bad Blood, and then after this past week on SmackDown, where Roman gets he doesn't have the upper hand. At the end of the show, we get them laying down in the ring, and then Jimmy telling him we need help. We need that NWA reunion. We need that original OG Bloodline reunion, and that's what we're gonna get. If this pans out, and if this unveils the way we think it is, we're going to get probably the best pro wrestling storyline has ever been told. Hands down. You know, there's other rivalries that I have now during my research to do this episode. WWE is now cinematic. There's many other movies and rivalries or storylines that I could compare to. If you want to hear more, let me know. Let me know what you think of this episode, and I think we could probably bring that to an end on WWE is cinematic and the Bloodline is straight out of Compton. And I love that. I love that saying. I'm going to say it one more time. The Bloodline is straight out of Compton. And I love that WWE is now cinematic because it fits in right into my realm. It fits in right into the realm of the cutting room and what we talk about. We talk pro wrestling and films and how they're hand in hand. Um, with that, I'll leave you guys. I hope you guys have a good day. Up to the next episode. And that's a wrap on the Cutting Room Podcast. And cut.